Are you ready?
Oh yeah, we're
Oh,
rolling.
we're rolling. Oh my God. Hi, I'm Laura Workala. I have Laura Sewing School in Arlington, Massachusetts. We're working on making masks for the medical community, and I've come up with a few innovations to one of the patterns I saw online. Basically, the idea is that you can use quilting cotton. What we've been told is it's much easier if they have a contrasting lining so that they know which way to put the mask on. If you do it all in one, it's hard to tell. This looks the same on both sides, and it's important that the inside of the mask is always on the inside and the outside because of germs and permeability. So anyway, so here's the thing. This is quilting cotton. What I've decided to do is to be able to have a contrasting lining. So that's one change I made to a pattern that I posted on my Facebook page yesterday. So the other thing is that another option you can do, because one of the people I've been talking to about this whole project, her sister is a pulmonary specialist, and apparently you can use this non-woven. Can you see this texture? This non-woven grocery bag material. You can find a lot of grocery bags, reusable grocery bags made out of this material, and it's actually less permeable, more impermeable to viruses and germs. So this could be used for the outside material, and then maybe they're suggesting maybe a pillowcase or a sheet or something for the inside because it's nice and smooth against the skin, especially when this is the outside. But anyway, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to make one here. I'm going to just show you these pattern pieces. I am going to upload these so that you can print them off, or you can just draw them out and measure them out. And so anyway, so what these are, this one's not done. This one's done, except we decided to just make the change of the having the inside and outside be different. And then these will loop around your ears. I've been using 1/8 inch elastic. I can't find my 1/8 inch elastic because we cleaned up around here. And so I'm going to use 1/4 inch today, but a lot of you might be using 1/4 inch also. So here's what we've got, is that I've got a pattern. The first pattern here is for the outer fabric. Here I'm going to use a teal fabric. That is actually, this one is cut 8.5 high by 7.5 inches wide. Okay, so we're all doing inches here because we're in America. So anyway, 8.5 inches high by 7.5 wide. Okay, so you can just use the pattern that I'm going to upload, or you can use a gridded ruler to do that. So what I'm going to do is that I have it's narrower than it is tall. I'm going to label one end short end top because we're going to sew that different than the bottom. So anyway, so that's that. And then here is the lining. You'll see I have just a muslin here. Ultimately, people are going to be donating sheets, and I'm going to try and use those for the lining as much as possible. Or if anything, just use a contrast on the inside, okay? So this can be used sheet, pillowcase, or a contrast fabric. Like I said, the outside could be quilting cotton, or it could be this non-woven bag fabric. This does wash and dry. And you can iron it, but don't have the iron really hot. I would recommend for all this stuff, you can just use a medium setting on the iron, like synthetic or wool. So anyway, so this is the lining. That's a 7.5 inch square. Oh, I should do that. 7.5 inch square. Okay. That's a really nice SQ there, right? Okay. One thing you do want to do is that I put a grain line here. Grain line means that you have cut it parallel to the threads. There is a selvage along the edge of the fabric. Often there's a white edge. That's the print margin. So you want to make sure that the edge is parallel to the edge. Now, does it matter if that edge is parallel or this edge is parallel? Not unless you have like a fabric that is an up and down. Like if you had little flowers like that, they should go up and down this way. Okay, so there is a direction if you are using a fabric that has a direction, but make sure the threads either go this way or this way. You do not want it to be crooked because that will make it stretchy and distort. Okay, so there's that grain line here, there. Now here for the side strips, there are these side strips that form the place where the elastic gets put. These side strips, I'm making one pattern that's 8.5 by 2, 8.5 inches by 2 inches, and I figure we have to turn one long edge in. I would say it's better to turn the edge in, then cut them apart. Okay, I've already cut these apart. So anyway, I'll show you what I mean later. And then one last thing that you won't need quite yet is I made a pleating template so that way you don't have to guess how big to make the pleats or where to place them. I made this pleating template, so that will also be in the packet that I'm going to print, have you be able to print online. So All right, so we're going to get started. So the first thing to do is to take your two pieces here, your liner and that one. I'm going to just put these all over here, get them out of the way. All right. And I'm going to use a contrasting thread so that you can see what I'm stitching. I'm going to use red thread here. All right, so what we can do is that we can go like this, and let's see, where's my, I got to find my, oh, here it is. It's right on top of the sewing machine. All right, so if we go like this, we want to leave an opening in the middle. This is going to allow them, if they want to, put a, like a filter material in here and tuck it all the way in, because they would probably put the filter material in, use the mask, and then pull it out and throw that away and then wash the mask. So that allows them to do that. There's also, oh, I didn't show you, there's a twisty here. We just ordered a bunch of plastic cover twisties that actually say they can be used in medical circumstances. And you can actually cut them to length. The ones that we ordered, I think, are 7 or 8 inches long. We need 6.5. And so you're going to have to cut them to length. Just use a crappy pair of scissors. Like, these are really awful looking. They'll cut them just fine. Okay. So you can measure here and mark, you know, like on one side, the 6.5, and then just cut right across your things. Okay. We're not going to cut them for you, but you need to cut them. All right. So anyway, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take that pen, and where did I put the pen? I put it back in here, trying to have everything handy. I'm not going to stitch in the middle. So what I can do, I can use this as a template and go like this and like this for where I want to start and stop. Okay. So then I can take a pin, and I can even put a pin right here to make it really obvious. Now, here's the thing. I wrote on that very first pattern piece 5/16 of an inch seam allowance. Everyone's going to go, what the heck? I don't even know how to begin to figure out what 5/16 of an inch is, okay? Well, what it is that most presser feet on almost all zigzag machines are 5/8 of an inch wide. Okay, so if you have the needle in the center, the distance from here to the side of the foot is 5/16. That makes it very, very easy to follow seam allowance on this. Okay, so I know quilters are used to a 1/4 inch, and they can do that, I suppose. But anyway, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start here, and you always want to start on the fabric. Now watch out that I use the cutter, so it's all right. So I'm going to just go like this. I'm going to go here, back stitch to the edge. And I'm going to go right up to that pin. If I get really close, I don't want to hit the pin, I can always go needle up, needle down. Then I can go back like this, and then I can cut the thread. Now I have a cutter on my machine, which makes it really easy, you know. So now I can start here just after the pin, and I can go back very carefully. See, I can't see the mark I made because the foot covers it, so that pin can be very helpful. Now, it doesn't have to be a perfect, you know, placement. If you're a stitch shy or a stitch over those marks, that's absolutely fine. So now I've cut my threads, and you see this is good. We have the contrast so you can see what I've done. All right. Now what we want to do is we want to press the seam open. So hopefully this works all right. This is just a little iron. I usually would use my big steam iron. I'm going to just spray that because this doesn't have any steam. And I'm going to open this up, press this open. Now, one thing you're going to find is that this being open, it may not want to press the way you want it to. So what I can do is you can pin right into your ironing board. You can go like this, and then you can pull on it like this. And you'll find that it'll fold over where it needs to fold over. Like that. See how nice that is? And I can even leave those pins in the board. Now what we want to do is that we want to stitch this seam allowance down here. We don't want to stitch that. We want to just stitch the liner one. So this is kind of nice. It makes it easy to see what's going on here. Okay, so I can stitch from this side if I want to try and see where I am. So one thing is we don't want to stitch way over here, so we can't use the side of the foot. I'm going to assume that most of you cannot move your needle position, okay? Because a lot of basic sewing machines, you can only sew in the middle, okay? And so I'm going to assume that, and if you have a stitch and ditch foot, if you have the possibility to move the needle from the right to left, you know what to do to get that to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just visualize this right here at the hole right here. Also, this particular foot, the metal and the plastic come together right there. okay? So I'm going to do that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch that down. You can do 1 or 2 back stitches. It's going to get caught in the seam anyway. And I'm just going to follow that like this. Now what we're going to do is, these are 2 different lengths. You'll see if we folded it here, this is shorter than that, and there's a reason for it, okay? So just pull this over here and match these up, okay? Now what you're going to do, and you can put pins in, okay? And sometimes for people, it's a good idea to put pins on. I usually put the pins in perpendicular to the edge, so if I forget to pull them out, then the machine will probably hop over them. I'm going to take and pinch this. Once I've got there, I can put the needle down. You can hand turn it to put the needle down if your machine doesn't have a needle up down button. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to go like that, back stitch. And once I've got the needle set, I'm going to put these corners together here, pinch and tip up a little bit, and just keep a little tension against that, and it'll keep the layers from shifting. Now, once it got a little awkward to keep doing this, I put my finger down here and I keep going. All right, little back stitch and cut the thread, okay? Now, what we need to do is that if you're using this material, it does not like to press open, which we've been doing in these other places. So we want to make sure that there's no dipping inward when we turn it right side out. So we can either press this open, and one way to press it open is to just move this over. You don't have to have a pressing stick or anything like that, and press it open like this, okay? Another thing that we can do, if you have some, if you have this kind of material, which is kind of stiff, you can go like this and have the seam press under the white. You can actually see the shadow of the white. It's a little lighter there, and I can just give that a little spritz, and I can press this like that. Okay, now I want to press this so that that's where the bottom of the mask is going to be. And you'll see that the top fabric rolls to the back, okay? So one thing I can do here is I can pin here and here, okay, right into the mat. You can pin into your ironing board. It won't hurt the ironing board at all. And then I can pin here and here. And then I can just kind of press that with my fingers there. A little water. And then press like that. And then you have, this will be the little pocket for the metal twist tie to make it fit around the nose better. And so that'll make it really nice. This is the pocket to put the filter material in. Now the next thing we want to do is that we want to sew these edges together. We also want to top stitch this fold and this fold here, okay? So what we can do here is that when we're on the sides that have the cut edge, we're not going to overcast these. There was a video that I had posted that someone had done, and they said serge the edges. Oh my gosh, that's just way too much work. And these edges are going to be enclosed, so we don't need to do that. Now, again, an easy way to guide this, we're going to sew about 1/8. If we go here, center needle position, this side of the hole is 1/8 of an inch from the needle. So we can just follow that. And again, I'm just holding it flat like that. Now I will actually want to sew fairly close to this edge. Now I want the needle to be down when I turn, and so that's not quite, so I'm going to lift the needle up and move it down like that, and I'm going to be really close to the edge. Okay, now I can sew across here. That's just going to keep that edge nice, and it's not going to move around and roll around. Okay, see my machine stops with the needle in the down position. Now that actually, when I turned, is at a good place because this edge is right here at the hole. All right, now I'm going to sew here. Now I want to be a little closer, so I'm going to lift the needle up, lift the presser foot, and then put that down closer to that edge. Okay, so I want to sew like about halfway between the needle and that opening, the right end of the opening, okay? And then I can backstitch if I want. Don't really need to do much backstitching there because that's going to get caught in that. So you can see the stitching better here. This was done before we folded it. So I stitched one big box, but you see I'm a little further from the edge here than I am here. Okay. Now the next step is for us to put the wire in. I have twisties coming, Monday. So today is Saturday. So they'll be available. All right. So this I had already cut to 6.5 inches. It's not easy to see the scale in here, but 6.5 inches. Cut it with like I said, a kind of crappy scissor. So I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to slide that in. Now it's still longer than the opening, so you can just kind of bend that and slide that in here. The reason it's 6.5 is so that you don't have to stitch across. If you have ones that are a lot smaller, you could get away with ones. We're actually using ones that are plastic coated. This one is just a sample, so this one is paper on one side and plastic on the other. If it turns out you have 4-inch ones or 5-inch ones, they would still work, but you have to center them and then sew up and down, like maybe right here or right here. Now this is a friction marker, so this is Frixion. That is made by Pilot, and it is erasable with the heat of the iron. So don't, because you see me using a pen, don't think, oh, I can just use any old pen or marker. Don't. Please don't. It won't come off. Okay, so anyway, so I don't have to put little containment vertical things because this is this long. But it's far enough away from where we're going to be sewing the end casings on that we don't have to worry about it. And even if it shifts a little bit side to side, it's not going to be a problem for getting it to bend around the nose. Okay, so now that I've got it in there, I'm going to stitch this down all the way along this edge right here. So again, like I'm really close to this edge, I'm going to be really close to that edge. So I'm going to go like this. I didn't even bother to backstitch. Okay, so and I'm just going to make sure I don't stitch through that twisty. That would not be a good thing for my sewing machine to do. But then I can go all the way across like that. And then that's all set. Okay, now I've got a casing in the top. Casing is a tunnel or a place to put things like that. This is still remaining open for the filter material to go in. Now I need to make my pleats. Okay, this is where the pleating template is going to come in handy. Okay, so what I'm going to do, now this is a little big for this. I may have to adjust this. It's 7.5, but this, by the time I finish sewing it, is 7 3/8. So it's still fine. What I would do is that this is very clearly the top because of the stitching there. But if that's not clear to you, put a pin here to remind you for the top, because the pleats should go downward and they're set to go from the top down. So put a pin there to remind you it's the top if you can't tell. So I'm going to place this at the very top here, and I'm going to move it over like this so I can take and put marks here. So I can take and put a mark with this friction marker. You can also get friction pens from Staples and Walgreens. I finally found some of these markers, these friction markers at Target a month or two ago. So I was very happy about that. Now I'm going to move it, shift it over, but I'm going to keep the top even. If this hangs off the bottom, I don't care. I can still work with that. So I'm going to mark here, mark here. I don't know if you can see this very well, but just something that you can see. If it was a really dark fabric that you were working with, you could do something else. Like you could use, this is a tailor's chalk. It's actually clay and wax or whatever like that. And what's really neat about that is that it shows up really well on dark material. Another thing you could do with dark material is you could use a chalk liner. It leaves a little white line, as you can hear that, as that a little wheel rolls in there, and you can make a line like that. Okay, so those are options for marking something where it's too dark to see a friction marker. Okay, you can also, a neat substitute for this is a sliver of bar soap. You know how you get done with soap and you're going, oh, they're just slivers, it breaks? Put that in your sewing box. They're really great for marking fabric, and it doesn't rub off. Like this doesn't rub off, but the chalk can rub off, you know. So if you want, but often that'll go away with the iron. Okay, so all right, so I've marked these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and to make it a little easier for folding, I'm going to put pins in perpendicular to the edge at each of these marks. Okay, so I'm going to go like this. This will help us fold the fabric. but make sure it's perpendicular. You don't want your pin going like this. That's going to make it really hard to make your fold. The pins will be right at the folds that we're making, okay? So I'm going to go like this on this side, and then I'm going to turn it and go here and put pins in on this side. 1, 2, 3. Okay, flatten that out. Come on. That's a bent one. I don't want to use that. Not where it's supposed to be straight. And maybe there. And then here. Now that last one, I think I'm not going to put a pin there. So here's the thing. I'm going to take this one. Well, maybe I should put a pin just so you can see it. I don't want to be inconsistent here. Okay, that's about a 1/4 inch from the bottom. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I found it easier. Here's the top. We want the first line to go to the second line, the third line to go to the fourth line, the fifth line to go to the sixth line. So I found it was a little easier for me to do this. Match the pins up and then just let the fold go underneath toward the top. Okay, so this is going down like that. Then put a pin in, making sure that the edges meet. Now let me show you what I mean if they don't meet. So let's go over to this side. Match up these pins like this, and then just let the fold go up toward the top, okay? Now here's the thing. If I go like this and I pin that, if you look at the back, that's crooked. We don't want that crooked. That's going to give us trouble, okay? And we don't need to borrow trouble. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in here. I'm going to fold this to meet that. And when I fold that back up again like this, and you see this will fold right on the pin, I'm going to make sure all the edges are even. And then I can pull one of the pins out and put it right down the middle like that. Now here, since I'm already on this side, I'm going to match those pins up like this. Let the fold go upward. Like that, like that, and pull a pin out and put it in the middle. One thing I like to do is I don't want this fold to go past that pin, because that means the folds are going to overlap and make it bulky, and I don't want it bulky. Okay, now I'm going to match these two pins here, and then let that fold up. And you'll find that fold will come even with this change in fabric there. See, that looks really good. The edges are even. I'm going to put a pin in right in the middle here like this, and then I'm ready on that side. Now I'm going to go to this side and finish this side. I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to match those pins. All right, they're going to meet, and then I'm going to fold this like this. Now this looks like it's going over that pin. I'm going to just adjust. I maybe folded that not at the greatest. Oh, that's better. That's better. So now these edges are even. This doesn't go past this pin because otherwise it gets too lumpy, because I don't want the folds to overlap each other. This one, go to here and then fold it up. And you'll see that that's about even with where the colors change in the back of the fabric. Now I'll put this here. And I'll check to make sure that's not crooked. Okay, that's feels kind of right. I'll just throw another safety for a safety measure. Now you see we've got this, okay? So one thing we can do is that we can just get it to settle in by spritzing that. I mean, I don't have any steam in this iron right now, so I'm just going to do that. And then you'll see, maybe this will show the pleats better because it's a little, you see the shadows better. And you can press that. That'll help it just behave for you while you're doing all your stitching. We're going to be sewing, whoops, we're going to be sewing close to this edge and close to this edge. Okay? So again, we can use that same idea that, again, I'm going to make this so anyone who cannot move their needle position can just use this. We're going to put the edge right even with this hole, or in this case where the plastic and the metal meet on the foot. Okay? So now I'll lift the presser foot and I'll go here. Now watch out, sometimes those feed dogs will grab this pleat underneath faster, you know, if you pull the pin out too soon. So I want to make sure I get pretty close before I pull the pin, okay? Get onto the pleat. I found it turns it if you don't. I don't like to sew over pins if I can help it. Okay. All right. Now you can decide, are you going to go in the same direction or are you going to turn it around? So my machine's big enough I can go in the same direction, but some people, it'll go and bend up because they don't have as big an arm space here. So let's just go like this. Once I can feel it catch that. There we go. Let me pull those a little bit so it doesn't hit the foot. There, now I can pull that pin. Now hopefully each side of my mask is the same length. You can check by going like this. Oh, yay, look at that. It worked. Okay, so both sides of the mask are the same length. That's really good. Now it's time to put the casings on the ends, okay? So like I was saying here, I've got these I already cut out. Now we need to fold over one end. So there are a couple ways that you can do that, okay? One way, let's see, I had a piece of black. Here's the black. I like to actually fold over the edge when this is one long piece and then cut it. It's easier than doing two separate pieces, but if you've already cut them, that's fine. I like to do one long piece. Now I want to fold it over basically 5/16 of an inch, which is what I've been using for a seam allowance, 5/16, basically the distance between the needle and the side of the foot. Now one way you can do that is that if you don't have a gridded ruler, like what I did here, is I'm going to put this here. Oops, I didn't mark that right. I've got to do 5/8. Okay, so let me just erase the line that's on there because that was done wrong. See, this is what's really great. So, Amelia, can you get this? So what's really neat about this, you can see this mark here. The iron erases that mark. So if I made a mistake, I don't have to worry about it, okay? So now what I can do is if you have a gridded ruler, this works really nicely. Each little hash mark is 1/8 of an inch. You put this so that the line, this is under the ruler 5/8 of an inch. I press the ruler so that I don't let the fabric move. And I don't have to press real hard to get a nice line like that, okay? Now that's really nice for that. That's one way to do it. But what if you don't have a gridded ruler? Well, one thing that a lot of people don't know, that's a cool tip, is that tape measures like this are 5/8 of an inch wide. See, here's 1, 2, here's 6, 1/8, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5/8 of an inch wide. So one thing you could do if you have something like this, you could take this like this and go like that, okay? And there's your 5/8 inch, exactly the same as this, okay? Now, let me show you how to do this. I'm going to show you if you don't have a friction pen or a chalk or something like that to make a mark, then we're going to want to do something else. So what I can do here is, this is again a really cool thing to do, is I can go like this and this, fold it to the line and press. So it's folded over. This piece right now, the original piece was 8.5 by 2 inches. This now is 4.25. The length is in half, okay? So, and if you feel like you need some more support here, I pin near the edges so I can get that in to put the fold on there. Okay. Like that. All right. Seems a little damp there, so I'm just going to, I don't want to move the iron too much because I don't want to ruin what I did. Now here, what if you don't have anything that's good for marking? You can draw a line with the sewing machine. Again, our 5/16 of an inch is the distance between the needle and the side of the foot. I can draw a line with thread right along that edge here. I don't even have to backstitch. Then I can, oh, look at that. I ran out of bobbin. Okay, so we need to get a bobbin. Let's see. All right. This might even be better because I'll have even more contrast to the black to show. Okay. Let's see. And sweep that, and then put this in. So now we'll have more contrast with this. Okay. I've got to make sure the needle hits the fabric, otherwise you get a jam. Okay, so actually what's really cool about this is you're going to see really well. See, look at that line. That's really easy to see. So we're going to go to the ironing board. And what you can do is that you can fold it on this line. See? So here, let me move it this way so you can see that line. So this is your fold line. So we can go like this, and this, and this, like that. And then you can press to get that to stay. Okay? Now this doesn't press as easily, this particular material, but it did press. But that's one way to be able to fold it if you don't have something to mark it with. And it doesn't take very long. Now the other thing is I'm going to use I'm going to cut this in half. So I can fold this in half like this and take my scissors, put the scissors in the fold and cut. It doesn't have to be a perfect cut, but that gives me equal size to go with the mats. Okay? So now this is the top. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to flip it like this. So, and I'm going to put this so that this is a cut edge and this is a folded edge. We're going to put the cut edges together, and I'm going to take this and kind of center that so I have the same amount of extra fabric on each end. Okay? Now I'm going to take this and fold it gently around there, but snug it up against there. And I'm going to take and pin this. Now there are a lot of layers down here. So when you pin there, you don't have to go through all the layers. You can, oh, that doesn't look very even, does it? Okay, I'll just move it a little bit. It all blends in so well. You know, the polka dots match with the polka dots. Okay, so here we go. I can just pin the upper layers there because that's really thick at the bottom. And then I'll wrap this around here and I'll pin that. Okay. I think it does help to pin this. I try doing it without pinning because I'm an advocate when we're trying to do a lot of sewing to do less pinning. But sometimes the pins save us time and get us a better result. So here I've got this, the edge is even. I'm going to go like this and wrap that around. And I can pin that. And then I can wrap this around and pin this. I find it easier to do when it's on the table, you know. You might be an air pinner, but I'm not. Okay, we're going to again use the same seam allowance. The side of the foot, center needle position, and we'll go here. We're wrapping this around to get the end all finished nicely. So here, oops, I just went over the pin. Shh, don't tell anyone. Okay, now here's the thing. Sometimes when the foot is tipped up, you can actually use this button on the side, it may be on the other side, to level the foot. Okay, that didn't really need it much. Okay, well, there we go. Now we go here. And backstitch. You definitely want a backstitch on each end of that, okay? Then you can turn it around and start here on the fabric. Backstitch. Go forward. Sometimes you may have to give it a little push when it's going over something thicker, okay? Boy, I really pinned close to that edge, didn't I? Oh, there we go. Again, the side of the foot is our guide the whole way. That's our seam allowance. It's something that everyone can do. Now what I want to do is if I go like this and I pull this out like this, see how that wraps around the corner and it gives you a really nice finish here and here. And then here, the same thing here, okay? Now again, the iron is such a great help. I'm going to press this outward. So I'm going to just press it like this. And then I'm going to go over here and press that like that. Now I'm going to turn it over. And you see how this is folded? I'm just going to make sure that that stays folded nicely. I think I put all the pins back on the pin cushion. So I can go like this, and then I can make sure that that's folded there. And I'll tuck that down like that. And stick a pin in there. And then I can do my little spritz. And just, now here's the thing. These are glass-headed pins. They're made of glass. They will not melt with the iron. So if your pins are not glass, don't do that, okay? I forgot to mention that. I use glass head pins all the time just because I can use it on the iron. If that's going to stick out, you can always just take and fold that like a little tiny ice cream cone. just so that it doesn't stick out when it gets wrapped around. Now I'm going to go around here and do the same thing here. I'm going to fold that like that, and then keep this folded in here, and I'm going to fold that down like this. All right, oops, bonk. And then I can press this and press this. Okay, whoops, like that. Okay, now the idea is that we are going to take this and we're going to fold this around like this, okay? Now, one thing that we can do when we do this, we can take this, we could conceivably take it and make it even with that edge. But we want to make sure when we sew this down, we want to catch this. We might want to sew it from the front here. So what I want to do is I want to have this go past. Let's do it here so you can see it. I want to have this, instead of going even with that, go a little past. Can you see that? It goes a little past where this is, all right? So what I can do is I can always pre-press it right now like this, but I'm going to put the elastic in before I sew this tunnel or casing because it's easier. It's a lot easier. Then I don't have to get out a safety pin and feed it through and get it caught on edges and pleats and all sorts of things like that, okay? So I'm going to go like this. Now, we've got our 10 inches of elastic somewhere here. I think there are 2 pieces over here. Yep. I cut extra. Good thing, because I couldn't find what I was looking for. So like I said, I ordered a bunch of 1/8 inch, and so that's coming Monday. But here, I designed this so you could use 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch, okay? That'll still work and won't feel too bad around the ears. Just lay that in like this, like that. And you can sew it so you don't have to feed it through. Isn't that a nice idea? Okay, so what I can do here is, again, you don't have to pin through all the layers. Just catch one layer of this to hold that down. And you know what, if this sticks out, you know, you can tuck that in, okay? Or you can just let it stick out. It's on the back of the mask, you know. Will it change the functioning? No. That's what we care about. We don't want, you know. So like that. And then I can take this one, lay that here, and fold that down. And actually, I need to sew it from this side. So one thing I could do is I could go like this, and I can go here, and go like this. If I go like that and the pin is seen in the fold, I can even do something cool called stitch in the ditch. And you can decide if you want to stitch in the ditch or if you want to sew a little bit onto this binding. See, this is not contrasting, so this makes it harder. The edge, the seam is right here. You could sew here, or because this goes a little further, you could sew right here and catch it. Now, no matter what, you want this to go further because you want to make sure when you top stitch on this side, you're catching that other edge, okay? And it's going to look better if you top stitch it from this side because it's the right side of the mask, the outside of the mask. So I can go like that, and then I can pull this one out. And can you see, here's this edge and here's that edge. It's longer. It's longer. So I can put a pin in where the ditch is, okay? Now, some people like to do stitch in the ditch feet. Can you move just a little bit, honey, so I can see if I think I put my stitch in the ditch foot around here somewhere, or maybe I didn't. I might have just put it aside because I wanted to pretend that I didn't have such a thing. Okay, so anyway, so you can stitch just a little bit into that. So here's this. I think you can see the shadow there. I can stitch right here, but there's enough fabric sticking out underneath. I could stitch right here and this stitching disappears. It's called stitch in the ditch. So on one side I'm going to do it on here, and one side I'm going to do it in the ditch, okay? So here's this. I'm going to back stitch. Oops, let's highlight that. Just take your time when it's really thick, okay? I'm doing like a 2.5 millimeter stitch length. That's like 10 stitches per inch. It's common stitch length when you sew. I think that works well for this whole project. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and stitch in the ditch where the pins are, so that way the thread hides a little bit more. It's just a finer finish, and I'm just going to try that, okay? So now I'm going to pull this pin out, which was pinned in the ditch. Okay, oh, yeah, put the pretzel foot down. Okay, Go forward now. There's a break in the middle of the foot, so I just have that hanging over where I want to stitch. Go to the edge, back stitch. Okay, so now the idea is that with this, we're going to tie the ends of the elastic together and hide the knot in the casing. See, this can slide. See that? I can slide the elastic, okay? So that's good. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I think an overhand knot is the best thing to do. So take and put this, you see it's flat like that, put the same sides together. Don't put a twist in it if you can. Go like this. Now doing an overhand knot is very strong. I do this all the time with my stitching. So what you do, it's like tying a balloon. That's usually, it's just a simple single knot, but with both ends. Now what you want to do, you do want to get that knot fairly close to the end. I'm just going to hold these. I'm going to pull these and kind of slide them toward the end. And then I still have that, and I'm going to pull on that. So it's a really good knot, okay? Then what you can do is that you can pull that knot into the casing, all right? Or shove it in the casing, whatever. Let's see. I was able to do this pretty well with the 1/8 inch elastic. It might be a little trickier with the 1/4 inch. We have to get that through here. Pull, pull, pull. Come on. Sometimes you can shove things in there. Oops, I think I'm getting there. Or you might find it easier from the bottom. I'm pulling this from the top, and maybe it's a little more resistant at the top. Okay. Well, this is always good to see when things don't work. Oh, there it is. Now the knot is in the very middle there. You can't really see it, but it's a little lumpier there. But now, see, you just have a smooth elastic to go around the ear, okay? So then over here, we'll take this and we'll bring it up together like this. Then we can, kind of let the side fold, and we'll take it and wrap this around my fingers, keeping those two ends together, okay? And going like this. This was a 10.5 inch piece of elastic, by the way. I don't know if I said that earlier. Okay, so then I'm just really pulling on that at the end to get that tight, okay? Now let's see about bringing it in from the bottom. This is the top over here. See if it comes in the bottom of the casing any better, or if it's just the way it is. It is a pretty big knot. Like I said, the 1/8 inch elastic, the knot is a lot smaller. So it's almost like trying to turn a small tube, That's never easy. Okay, let's see. Come on, go in there. Anyway, sometimes, like I was using, what was it? The end, there it goes. You just have to kind of get it to go in there. Now it's in there. Okay. So now I can take that pin out, because that was the center top. See how much this will go around the face? See? And then we can bend that to go around the nose. See, like that? Usually the nose would be in the middle, so you can always go like this to start it out. And then we still have that pocket to put some type of filter medium in there. Apparently, the first way they would use them is that this can be used as a cover for an N95 mask, so it can keep the mask clean, because they can use it as long as the mask is clean. The other thing is that it could be used afterwards with a filter medium, and then the filter medium would be thrown away, and then the mask washed before it's used again. And the other thing is that what we're asking people to do, a couple of things. Wash and dry your fabric. Don't use fabric softener sheets. Wash and dry the fabric. Make your masks. Cut and make the masks. And then when you're done, wash and dry the fabric, and as soon as you wash and dry the mask, and as soon as you pull them out of the dryer, immediately put them in a clean plastic bag for drop off. Okay, and you should make sure that your hands are clean. Maybe you're wearing a mask during that time, because we're trying not to, we're trying to keep them as clean and virus-free, as possible. Okay, and then we'll arrange drop off here, but check Facebook for that information. Okay, Laura's Sewing School on Facebook. Thank you.